This presentation will provide you with information regarding the 504 and IEP process for students with disabilities in relation to the Individuals with Disabilities Act and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. The learning objectives for this presentation are: define the Individuals with Disabilities Act and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, identifying the legal requirements for completing a 504 and IEP referral, understanding the process of evaluating a student for a disability, and the role of the regular education teachers in evaluating and implementing an IEP and 504 plan. Here is some background information about Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. Richard Nixon signed the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, prohibiting discrimination for people with disabilities. The law defined an individual with disabilities as: 1, person with a mental or physical impairment that limits one or more major life activity; 2, someone that has a record of such an impairment; 3, someone regarded as having such an impairment. For example, the school believes the student has that disability, but the student has not been diagnosed by a doctor. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. Section 504 provides a broad spectrum against discrimination on the bias of a disability. All qualified elementary and secondary public school students who meet the definition of an individual with disability under Section 504 are entitled to receive regular or special education and related services, and services that are designed to meet their individual educational needs. Section 504 also requires, among other things, that a student with a disability receives an equal opportunity to participate in athletics, extracurricular activities, and to be free from bullying and harassment based on their disabilities. Student evaluation and placement under 504. Under Section 504, school districts must conduct an evaluation in a timely manner of any student who needs or is believed to be special education or related services because of a disability. IDEA evaluation process may provide the school district with information required by Section 504 to determine whether a student has a disability and whether that student needs related services or supplementary aids and services in the regular education environment because of their disability. A state or school district may use a separate process for evaluating the needs of students under Section 504. However, it must follow Section 504 regulations. Identifying a student under Section 504. Districts must conduct an evaluation in a timely manner. If the school decides if a student has a disability that falls under Section 504, this can be determined by observing the behavior and grades of the student, speaking with the student's teachers, reviewing discipline and attendance records, and the form from a committee of leadership to assess the child. The committee determines: 1, if the child has a disability or condition that negatively impacts their learning ability; 2, what accommodations can be made to assist with the disability to improve the learning; and 3, how those changes can be implemented in the classroom. Then the committee creates what is known as a 504 plan. The plan places the needs of the student into writing. The plan is also updated annually to ensure the student is receiving the best accommodations for their disability. Here's some background information about the Individuals with Disability Act. In 1990, the United States Congress reauthorized the Education for All Handicapped Children's Act into Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. IDEA states that a school must try to meet the unique needs of each child with a disability. One requirement of IDEA is that the Individualized Education Program, also known as the IEP. IEPs are created for public school students that are eligible by both federal and state disability standards. IEPs cover 1, the services to be provided for the student, 2, the student's level of performance and how disabilities affect academic performance, and 3, accommodations to be provided to the student. Individuals with Disability Act. The Individuals with Disability Act states that a school must try to meet the unique needs of each child with a disability. One requirement of IDEA is the Individualized Education Program. IDEA also provides specific requirements to guarantee a free and appropriate education, or FAPE. For students with disabilities in the least restrictive environment, FAPE and the least restrictive environment are the protected rights of every eligible child in all 50 states and U.S. territories. Standards and procedures to evaluate a student. School districts must have standards and procedures to evaluate students who may have a disability and need special education or related services. The evaluation of a student, however, must be individualized, so it must be created specially for that student. The evaluation standards and procedures must ensure that evaluations consist of more than IQ tests. Evaluations measure specific areas of educational need. These could include speech processing, inability to concentrate, behavioral concerns. Tests are selected and administered to the student in a manner that best ensures the test results accurately reflect the student's aptitude or achievement or other factors being measured, rather than reflect the student's disability, except where those are the factors being measured. Tests and other evaluation materials are validated for the specific purpose for which they are used, and tests are appropriately administered by trained personnel. An individualized education plan, so that's our IEP. Once a student has been formally evaluated and found eligible for special education services, the parents work with the school team to develop an IEP. The IEP is a contract outlining the services and supports the school will provide in order for the child to benefit from the educational program. An IEP must be developed before a student can begin receiving special education services, and it must be reviewed and updated each school year. This annual review is required for as long as the student remains eligible for special education. While each state is different in how they develop an IEP, the Individuals with Disability Education Act requires that every IEP include the following: how the student is currently performing in school, so their present levels, how the student can achieve educational goals in the coming year, and how the student is participate in the general education curriculum.